Turn that shit up. A Max Verstappen clean sweep. Carlos Sainz proves he's got that dog in him. And the penalty box at the Red Bull Ring runs out of real estate. This is Into the Chicane, a Formula One podcast, post-Austrian Grand Prix edition. Before we get into anything, I want to remind you guys, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We're posting regularly. We're your hosts, Channing Apodaca. This is Brandon Wood.
What up?
Today we have a very special guest, Jonathan Jungren, our resident Aston Martin fan.
Hello, hello.
A.K.A. J Money from the Into the Chicane Fantasy League. Fellas, welcome to the show. How we doing?
Doing good, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's nice. It's always nice to have an extra person here, you know?
Yeah, a little bit different. I feel like I'm tucked in the corner a little more than I want to be.
It's where you belong, so.
Yeah. Post-Austrian Grand Prix. Pretty good race. I'm going to say out of the gate, I think that was a contender for Race of the Year.
Really? That's pretty bold.
It was nonstop, start to finish. The sprint race was good. The Grand Prix was good. We got some of the best battles that we've seen so far this year. Dramatic finish, not really, but what did you expect? It was the Red Bull Ring, and Max Verstappen is in a Red Bull.
Okay. Qualifying, could have been a little more interesting, but
qualifying wasn't that great, and the shootout wasn't very good. But whatever.
We can start there. We can get into it.
Yeah, I disagree with the Race of the Year, but it was a good race.
You did. I watched you, and you were losing your shit during the Carlos Sainz Sergio Perez battle.
No, Carlos did good. I love that battle, but
Well, here's the thing. The only other race, and we're going to talk about this, we'll do our Race of the Year recap at the end of this, but Jeddah, great race. I think we have it ranked at number 2, right? And then the only other thing higher than that, the only other race higher than that was Australia, and that's because it was pure chaos.
Yeah. Australia was dope.
Australia was insane, but it was absolute fucking carnage, and that's why that one was more exciting. But baby. On-track battles, I think this one might top it. We'll talk about it in a little bit. Let's start with qualies, B-Wood.
Maybe not. Okay. Yeah, so quali was, wasn't too wild. We did see the very beginning of what proved to be the biggest challenge this weekend, which I think was track limits. Turns 9 and 10.
Yep.
Everyone having problems.
I think that's the one storyline of the race.
Yeah. So we saw Checo for the 4th race in a row, miss out on Q3. Gets
P15, right?
P15.
Jesus fucking! How many laps did he get deleted in qualifying? Was it 2 or 3?
It was like I know at least 2, maybe 3. It was every lap he did got disqualified.
Checo, what are you doing?
For track limits?
Track limits. In qualifying. And this is the 4th race in a row where he doesn't make it into Q3. And I heard a stat that this now marks the turning point where Nico Hülkenberg has officially outqualified Sergio Perez on the season in a Haas.
That's crazy.
Which they're having a turnaround season, great for Haas, but you're in a motherfucking Red Bull that should be finishing upwards of 15 seconds ahead of the rest of the pack.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, his car is way too fast for him to be
in a season where
P15.
Where his job is already on the line. He cannot be doing this. It's getting to the point where and look, he finishes P3 in the race today. He's putting himself in jeopardy.
I called that.
You did call that. You said Checo's going to finish P3 from 15. Good call.
And I'm surprised. I almost said that
as a joke.
I held back a little bit, but I'm like, no, he'll finish P3. Watch.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though.
His car's too fast.
Yeah, but if he had a decent qualifying, he could have at least finished P2, right?
Could have at least finished P2. Maybe, potentially won the race. Probably not. But if you look at the sprint race, different conditions.
Yeah.
But he gave Max a challenge.
Yeah.
He just makes it harder for himself.
He's making it harder for himself.
Qualifying so fucking far back.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, he's so good. He can, and then he makes up all these places. It's like,
well, he's in a car that has race pace like no other car on the track, but he's putting himself...
He's faster than Ferrari, proved that.
Yeah, he's putting himself on the back foot to get started. Also, Ferrari's strategy, dog shit, we'll talk about it. But let's talk about qualities a little bit more.
Is mind-blowing, but yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, Lewis had a great qualifying session, got himself up into P5, Russell, I don't know what happened in his Q2 runs.
But he's the number one driver of Mercedes. He's so
That's what
much faster than Lewis Hamilton.
That's what I keep hearing. I don't know. A lot of people on the internet seem to think that George
himself seems to think that he is God's gift to Mercedes.
Yeah.
So why
Couldn't get it
I can't
together.
for the life of me figure out why he's fit qualifying P11. George, what have you done, mate?
You should go.
It's
full
absolutely
red bar.
mad, George. What have you done?
Go full red bar on him.
Oh my gosh. He just couldn't get together. Ends up qualifying 11th.
Man, this is a real Woody versus Buzz situation we
Yeah.
got going on with George Russell and Lewis Hamilton, huh?
Our boy Alex getting it through into Q3 again.
Alex,
just
dude.
keeping that Williams alive.
I like George kind of as a racer, but
Why?
he's such a cunt. Like,
He's such dude. That's why you can't like him.
I know. It's
I
like,
think especially like if you're British, I can understand why you like him because he's probably next to Prince Charles, he's probably the most British person
he's
of
like
all time.
such a proper
Yeah,
Englishman.
he's the poster boy for British. You know,
yeah.
he might as well be on the cover of like Biscotte cookies or some shit, or biscuits, whatever they call them. But from an
Yeah, I think
American
they call
standpoint,
cookies biscuits.
we look at that shit and we're like, look at this fucking asshole, dude.
Just
This big
complainer
bright-
of the year.
Yeah,
Yeah, another highlight I would say before moving on is just Nico qualifying
100%.
That getting that Haas up there with that
100%.
amazing one lap speed.
And his weekend only gets better from there.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, they can qualify, but they can't run a race.
They have one lap
It's
pace.
stupid.
They do not have race pace. They got to figure that shit out, and they really need to figure out what's going on with their degradation on their tires because I think in the Grand Prix today, one of their cars only lasted like 12 laps before they had to pit.
Yeah,
it.
Nico.
And it wasn't like
Yeah.
let's make the decision to pit right now. It was like we got to.
Yeah.
And
They
I
didn't
think
have
he was
they
on
were losing
mediums.
out. Yeah.
Look, man, I love Haas. When do they say Gunther, like, he's like the
problem.
face of the thing, but
I don't think he's the problem. They're turning their
when
shit
are they
around.
gonna fire him for doing so poorly? Like,
They're doing great. They just have certain things that they got to figure out. Because look at where they're at right now.
They have a lot of limitations.
They're one of two independently operated teams on the grid right now.
Right. I
They're
know they have-
outperforming the other one. They buy basically used parts
right.
from other teams.
No, I know they're operating under very strict financial,
They're kind of back in a
Restrictions.
way. They're getting themselves back into form of the Haas of season one.
I
You know
like-
what I mean? Their first season when they finished
Like-
P4.
they have a fast car. It just can't run
It can't
71
race.
laps.
yeah.
No, it can't race. It can run.
Yeah, it's a similar problem that the Ferraris
They didn't
had.
finish today.
Kevin didn't. No, Nico didn't.
Nico, he
Yeah.
pulled off at like
All right.
31 or 20.
All right,
or
I
something.
shouldn't defend their reliability just yet. But who knows? I don't.
Every race, it
Yeah.
seems like.
No, they've been picking it up, but they do have problems. I don't think it's Gunther. I think it's that they don't have any money.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's true.
What they need to do
They don't have a Ferrari.
is bite the
backing.
bullet. They need to bite the bullet and go, hey, Andretti, let's partner up. I know we have a rivalry going on in NASCAR, but why don't you guys come in, be our 50-50 partner for F1 and be an American super team? Because Andretti is ready to put $200+ million into a team, but they want their own operation. They've already
Yeah.
said they don't want to buy a team. They want to start from scratch. They both need to bite the bullet. If Andretti wants to get into F1, they're going to have to realize that nobody's leaving and they're not going to put an 11th team on the grid. And Haas needs to realize that they're on EBT. And if they want to win a fucking race or get on the podium,
They need to partner with some
They need
cash.
to partner somebody with some
Americans
cash.
are dying for like somebody to root for in F1, and you can see how many races they're putting in the USA now. It's what, Vegas,
Exactly.
Miami, Austin. Am I forgetting something?
No, there's just three.
that's those three.
So that's got to be more than any other country.
Then you can
on
count the American
whole
influence in Mexico,
race.
Montreal. There's 5 in North America.
Yeah, exactly. So like we need a team that can compete, and we're like they should have the most money. It's kind of crazy.
Well, it's fun. Every team is backed. It's not like they're getting money from the U.S. government. They're not owned by the state the way
Saudi
that
prince.
Renault was.
Yeah, if they became like a Chevy or GM like works team or something like
Ooh.
that would be pretty sick.
Ooh,
You know, then they would have the real backing. And
That
they
would be
have
nice.
the factory support and all that stuff. So they
What's
can
the
get
biggest car manufacturer in the United States?
world- in the
It's
United
Ford,
States?
right? GM.
GM probably, yeah, because they have like the umbrella, of all those car companies.
So
So
if they took over a race team not just Gene Haas. Could you imagine? Like they could.
Yeah, it'd be dope.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, that's what we need.
We do.
That's true. Moving on to the sprint, I'll just really quickly go through the sprint shootout. Was very similar to what we saw in the qualifying for the race. We saw Nico up there actually getting a P4, amazing. Lando up there P3 after Charles's penalty for
Lando makes it into Parc Ferme.
Amazing. Love to see it. Both Mercedes miss out again, both going out in Q1 of the sprint shootout. So. Yeah, both starting on the back foot for the sprint. So
Lewis was just unable to get a fast lap in.
Something's going. I mean, they were. We talked about this going in, right? Like with just the one practice session, a lot of the teams with the new upgrades, Mercedes included, were going to be on the back foot, getting their car kind of set up for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So in the sprint race, we saw some excellent first lap battle.
That was one of the most exciting. Like the sprint race overall, I thought was some of the most exciting racing that we've seen. I'm a notorious sprint race hater, but I think the last two that we've seen, I've been like, yo, I can get on board with this if they're going to be like this every time.
Really? You don't like that?
I don't like sprint races. I think it takes away from the Grand Prix. I don't really like the shootout either. It's kind of dumb. This one was more exciting because it worked. The plan worked. It was to cause more chaos, and Mercedes ended up being the beneficiary of that chaos.
And the fact that it was wet, right? So that then you saw that added factor of chaos, just everybody searching for grip. And then at a certain point, started to dry out, so people started to go to the slick tires. Russell and Hülkenberg being the first to do so. Nico was a little stressed. He started off in P. What was that? P. Oh, you just said it. P4, right? And then he was falling back early. Decided to go to the slicks. Ends up pulling out, getting himself some points.
Yeah. Well, it was George Russell was the first one to do that.
And George Russell was first. He didn't quite make out as good as Nico did. Actually, he did jump some places, so maybe it did work out for him.
Yeah.
But Nico was able to actually get enough points to jump Haas up a few positions in constructor standing. So, proving that the sprint weekends the points still really do matter, even if it does seem like kind of like.
That's all it's for.
A shot in the wind. These little points do matter for at the end of the day.
Let's talk about that first lap.
The Max and Checo battle.
Yeah, because you and I talked about it a little bit yesterday in the pool.
While we were chilling at the pool.
Yeah, I think the three of us are on a little bit of a bender weekend right now. It's 4th of July weekend, and we put in some time yesterday. Max Verstappen,
everybody.
Everybody started, not everybody, but I think the majority of the grid started in second gear. It was a second gear start. Checo got a great jump. Max looked like he was kind of struggling to get off the line a little bit. I don't know if he had tire spin or if he just couldn't get the RPMs up, what have you. He might have, lost his balance a little bit, lost traction. Checo jumps great. Lewis jumped great, and Lando got off the line pretty good.
Amazing jump.
The four of them. Oh, and Nico got off the line really good. All of them fly into the first corner. Checo takes the lead. Nico behind him. Lando behind him.
Lando is in front because Lando is right behind the Red Bulls when that happened.
Yeah. So the four of them go in heavy. Sergio Perez leading the pack. Checo actually punks Max off the field.
I don't say he punked him.
He pushed. He didn't push him off, but he kind of forced him into the grass because Max was unwilling to give the position, so it forces him into the grass. Checo leads into the first corner, and Max decides to just absolutely send it up the inside. I didn't think it was the cleanest move. I'm kind of surprised Max didn't get a penalty because the way he cuts off the entire field from being able to make that turn. Everybody had to basically slam on their brakes. Sergio Perez goes off the track. Nico Hülkenberg makes out okay because
Lando
he ends up in P2. Lando
stalls.
He goes into anti-stall, and the rest of the pack just completely chews him up from behind.
And Lando lost Max 5 places right there.
And then from there, Max never looks back.
Yeah, it was. He just ran away with it. After that, Carlos had passed Sergio. He had to fight him back a little bit later on.
Yeah.
But we saw a little bit of battle between the cars that went for slicks, and some of the cars that stayed out on inters.
How about Valtteri Bottas starting a wet race on slicks?
That was, he went,
And then goes to inters at the very end.
Yeah, he started
Logan
like
Sargent
18th.
P18.
Let's go.
Shout out.
Hey, one of my predictions
Go
for
America.
one of my predictions for the weekend was that Nick was going to be the best rookie, and at one point during the sprint race, he was
That was
the
your
highest
prediction?
rookie. But
Who passed him? Piastri?
yeah, Piastri ended up in 11th in the sprint.
Sneaky,
which is
sneaky decent weekend for Piastri. Not a good Grand Prix race, but
Yeah,
he also didn't have the upgrades.
I don't rate him at all.
Let's so there was a little bit of headbutting with Max and Checo immediately following the sprint race, where Checo had to concede to Max's ego and say, and instead of saying that it was a dirty move or whatever, which he basically said over the radio, he said something on the radio like, "What the hell's wrong with Max? What's Max's problem?"
yeah.
or
What is
something.
his problem, man?
Because he bulldogs him off the track, and then afterwards in the post race interview, Checo's like, "Oh yeah, I gave him the place back." No, the fuck you didn't, Checo.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know.
time. It's time you stop babying the ego, stop stroking it, and just take ownership. Just say, "Yeah, I went for it. I know he's my teammate. I know he's number one in the world. I know this is his team, but I'm trying to win races too."
Yeah, he had the jump, he had every right to go and battle Max
Absolutely.
for that place. The
Dude.
fact that he wasn't able to hold on to it
That's
sucks.
the one
but
thing that frustrates me about Checo is he needs to
He plays the team game too much.
Yeah, he wants to be Max's number 2 so bad. He could be number 1. Like, he's that good.
It's the second best job in racing when you
Yeah,
think
I
about
mean,
it.
yeah, I mean, it's not that he wants to
I'll
be
finish
Max.
second every weekend. Who cares?
Yeah,
It's not that he wants to be Max's wingman. It's that he's got a great job right now and he's on the tail end of his career.
yeah. I mean, he's in the best car on the grid. That's the most
That's
important thing
it.
to him, right?
Yeah,
And he has to keep his hopes alive of going, well, look, there's, after this week, there's how many races left? 12 or something? Because this is what, week 10?
Well, his team is probably telling him too. Christian is like, "Hey,
He's got to hold
let
out hope.
Max do his thing."
They're 100% saying that.
Yeah, so it's like,
But he's got to hold out hope that he might still have a shot. If not this year, then next year. And if they keep him around for another year after that, then that year too. That Max is going to break his ankle or some shit,
Yeah,
I don't know,
He should send Max. You know what he should get Max? Like for Christmas? He should get him a bike trip with Lance Stroll. Get him a gift card for one free bicycle trip with Lance Stroll.
yeah. Some
I have a
cycling
feeling
training.
you do a
There we
Botox
go.
though, like go from a top team to like a lesser team, and then be like
The number
fall
one
off the
guy.
map. Yeah,
Fall off the mat. Or do the Alex Albon route and go
Because
from a
what?
top team to a not top team and be the number one guy there.
where was Checo before Red Bull? He was
Racing
on
Point.
Racing Point, Williams, right?
No.
Or
It's what is now Alpine.
Alpine. That okay.
No? That was
Or-
Renault. It's what's now Aston Martin, you dumb fuck. You're wearing their clothes.
I'm sorry.
Drunk?
It's been a while. but- yeah, no, but I mean, he was like middle of the pack.
Yeah, except for in Bahrain that one year.
Yeah, he won the last race of the season, right?
It was like the second. That was we talked about it last week. That was when they were running the same track multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I think they called it Sakir, something like that. I forget. But yeah, regardless. What's your point?
Well, I'm saying like he has a great opportunity to win races and he's not doing it. Like,
Yeah.
Correct. Thank you for repeating what B would said.
all right.
All right. So moving on to the race.
Stand corrected.
Yeah.
So like we mentioned earlier, track limits. Biggest issue this weekend for all of the drivers. We saw a total of 1,200 instances that the FIA had to review
That's
of cars going off the track.
Insane. The radio had to have been going fucking apeshit. I think who started it? Lando kind of started it, right?
Yeah, he was complaining being behind Lewis.
Behind Lewis.
Yeah.
This has to be a record for the most penalties ever given out in a race. It's got to be up there.
Yeah, no, this is the most I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember that being this problematic last few years.
No.
Like at spot, I don't know what it was.
And this is one of those things, like, I get tired of people harping on the FIA for inconsistencies or whatever, but this is one of those instances where they absolutely deserve it, because I can't stand when the FIA just goes, oh, we're going to choose to make examples out of everybody this weekend. And they kind of fucking ruined that race a little bit. As good of a race as it was, they were trying to rig it. Like how a ref tries to take control of like a basketball game, they were trying to take control of this race. I'm not saying that they were doing it in favor of anybody, but they were trying to make their presence more known than it needed to be. They were just choosing to go like, today we're going to hold you guys accountable for, a couple of inches over the line. Go watch every other race you've ever watched. Guys are going over track limits all the time. As long as it's not gaining you track position, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. The only time it should come into play is when it's for fastest lap.
This was the hot topic beginning of last season, right? Where it's like they're gonna enforce track limits no matter what. You get your certain amount of overs, and then you get your black and white flag, and then anything else after that, you're getting penalties, right? And I feel like
they were looking out for it way too much.
I think they should enforce it more, honestly. Like, the way that these guys drive, they drive halfway off the track most of the fucking race. So it's like, hey.
Then put sausage curbs.
I know. Do something.
Sausage curbs are extremely dangerous. So it's a good reason not to have them. I think it's just a matter of like enforcing the rule, enforcing.
If you
want
to be inside the track, go inside the track. But if you're gonna be halfway out of the track the entire fucking race, then
I don't disagree. Like, yes, they have to stay within track limits. That's why we have a track, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's why we have a track. But this was just
lines.
like an excessive use of trying to make an example. Do it over a season.
I've never seen that many penalties.
Because they're not going to be consistent with this at the next race. They're not going to have the same.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like at the next race in Silverstone, they may not have the same issues. They may have the same, it's like certain trajectories of the corners, like turns 9 and 10, right? And this weekend, they had a lot of problems at those specific corners because of the speed that they're going and the trajectories of the turns, right? So guys knowing that, they're all pushing the limits to try and get the most out of those corners. Like if they're going over, they're going over.
I agree with you 100%. They're trying to do the best that they can, go as fast as they can.
Yeah, they're trying to get the most out of it.
Get the best out of that car. But at the same time, it's almost like, when does it become a penalty, and it's almost like
it's after
subjective.
They get a certain amount of warnings, right? It's like 3 warnings, I think, is what they get, and then that's it.
3 warnings, and then I think it was who was it? They got 5 fucking warnings, and then all of a sudden they get a 5-second penalty.
They all got I don't know how many warnings,
tons of people.
The issue that I have with it is they're not going to scrutinize it to this level at every race in the season.
What makes you think that, though?
Because I know how the FIA works. They haven't done it this way all season. Why?
I think it's just because it's
Austria?
I think this track is so clean. Yeah,
I think it's the track. I think that's
me too.
Literally why there's more this week as opposed to last week.
I think this track is like a practice track, and it the lines are so clear.
I don't know.
Whether if you're at a street race, then
put
it's
walls up.
Oh, hey.
Put walls up at every track. Make every single track a street race.
Let's do it. I'm down.
Yeah, you don't always have the runoff like they do here. So I think part of that is why drivers feel like they have a little more.
But it's also ridiculous.
Room.
Like you have. Sorry, go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
No, that's it. It's just that I feel like they have more room at a track like this, so they're pushing limits a little more. Plus, also with the way the cars are maybe set up now, especially this weekend. Trying to do longer stints. A lot more people are on hards, don't have as much grip. Maybe that has something to do with it. But
I mean, it's just dumb because you have certain tracks like Sochi, for example, where they have an actual runoff driveway, an escape route that drivers were using as an actual way to cut the corner. Remember Fernando Alonso, lap 1, Sochi, the last time they raced? Mm-hmm. For some reason, it's legal to just cut that corner with no scrutiny, and he blows through it and gains 6 positions. Why is that legal, but you can't go 4 inches outside the white line in Austria? It makes no sense.
I don't get the cutting.
They haven't raced
thing.
it. I mean,
they haven't raced it, but if they were still, that's because Vladimir Putin's dropping bombs on Kiev. If that wasn't happening,
yeah, but I don't know. I'd have to look back at the context in which he did that and when that happened. So it's hard for me to really say.
That's always confused me as to why that was okay. Anyway, let's get off it.
No, I do remember that he fucking cut the corner straight away,
and he did it years before that too. It was like a straight up a thing that he does, and he was the only one doing it, and everybody's going can we do that? And they're like, I guess technically in the rules it's okay. I don't understand it, but I don't work for the FIA.
So I'm all for the penalties if they're gonna be like across the board.
I'm all for the penalties as long as most of them are on George Russell.
The only way I can see like some bit of inconsistency happening this weekend is just that the sheer number of the cars going off led to them being a little bit backed up.
It must have been every car going off.
That's the thing is like
how were they able to pay attention to anything else if they were looking at 1,200 instances?
That's the thing. It's like, there's so much happening. That's why we saw a bunch of penalties get put out after the race, right? So we can get there. But
what was it? Esteban Ocon got a 30 after the race?
30 seconds, yeah.
Mr. Penalty.
His
Ocon.
Yeah, dude, his penalty points at the end of the season are going to be crazy.
Yeah, so starting off the race, we saw it was a pretty clean start except for Yuki got mixed up a little bit with, who was it? They got in the back of like Ocon or somebody like that.
I don't know who he got mixed up with.
And then he ended up
in the gravel.
Causing an early safety car. Nobody really took advantage of that one. It was so early.
It was a virtual, right? Was it a full safety car or was it just virtual?
It was
just virtual. And then they went back through the pit so they can clear
the gravel, yeah.
But a little bit later on, after Hulk was unfortunately falling back through the field, he was burning through those tires real quick. He ends up pitting for a set of hards and then very, very quickly goes off into a little runoff, causing another safety car where both the Ferraris, who had at this point running right behind Max, running really good pace. They were keeping, I think it was...
We need to talk about those Ferraris.
It was like a 2-second gap.
Ferraris did good today.
When the safety car or the yellow flag came out, both Max and the two Ferraris had already passed the pit.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone else behind them goes in and pits. By the time they come back around, Ferrari's like, oh shit, we need to just do a double stack.
But before they decided to do this double stack, Carlos Sainz already had better pace.
Yeah.
Everybody on the commentary team was saying that they need to make this swap. Carlos is clearly the faster car, and they won't fucking do it. Carlos is telling them.
Carlos was saying it on the radio.
He basically was like, he asked them about their pace. Or no, they asked Carlos about his pace, and he basically said, look at the fucking timing boards. You tell me, it's obvious.
Yeah,
and they won't do it. I don't know why they're holding on to this idea, at least for this season, that Chuck is their guy. Carlos has been I don't know, I'm not going to say every single race, but at the majority of races this season, he's been the faster Ferrari. Maybe he hasn't had the better results, but he's had the faster Ferrari until they get their stupid little hands on his car and fuck his whole race up, which is exactly what they did with this double stack.
Yeah, so with this double stack, of course, they're not able to cleanly get Leclerc out, so ends up delaying.
It's a 4.5 second.
4.4.
Was it 4.4?
Yeah,
it's a 4.4 second.
Both
No,
of them.
because Carlos's was 1.1 second longer. So let's say Chuck was a 4.4. That backs up Carlos for 5 seconds. That means that takes his pit stop from probably, it was about a 21 second average, probably stretched him out to about 30 plus seconds.
Yeah, so he ends up losing out a couple places.
He's
he
clearly
gets past,
the second guy on the team.
Yeah,
Like,
at that point
they
it
don't
was
care.
Checo. It was Checo and Lando both got by him. Checo stayed out, did not pit at all. And so Carlos, I mean,
He ended up 16 seconds behind.
That right there,
Carlos has that dog in him. That's on the power.
and he really and he charged back up later in the race. But that right there was what lost Ferrari the double podium this weekend.
Yes.
Dude, they had it.
Another shitty strategy call. They cannot get it right. I've brought this up to you. You ever seen that movie Life with Eddie Murphy and
Yeah.
who's in it? It's Eddie Murphy and
Martin
Lawrence.
Martin Lawrence, yeah.
And there's that character, Bernie Mac's character, and he's like kind of retarded, and they call him Can't Get Right.
Nah.
Just terrible strategy again from Ferrari.
Dude,
that's their crux. That's
Am
their
I the only
Achilles heel.
person that thinks Charles is highly overrated? Like,
He's not having a good season. I'm not ready to call him highly overrated yet, or overrated. In
like
any
he's a
sense.
good driver, but like
top
the amount
top 4
of
in the world.
opportunities he has almost every week.
Yeah.
Like, he's pretty good at qualifying, but then when it comes to the race day, he's like out on like lap 4 type shit, you know?
something ends up
There's
happening.
something
I mean,
wrong.
but that's the thing is like he's also under the same.
Like he'll qualify P1 and then lose the race.
Yeah, he also falls victim to the same thing that Carlos falls victim to is the team strategies screwing him over.
Right.
So
yeah, Ferrari's.
you know, with a lot of times in qualifying, he's missed out on stuff. In the race, he's missed out on stuff.
Yeah.
but
If
he
he's
did.
getting it bad, Carlos is getting it worse.
Carlos not
Look what
Carlos.
he's doing. Like he's doing pretty freaking good.
So Charles actually
compared to Charles, I think.
for all these things, he actually is the one that breaks Max's consecutive laps led this weekend. After yeah. So Max had managed to pull off 249 laps.
That's
this season
insane.
consecutively in the lead, but
Without
after
anybody passing him. That's insane.
yeah. So when
'Cause he
Max
pitted
pits,
probably.
yeah, he pitted for hards. Leclerc ends up taking the lead.
And then he passed him right away.
Do you understand what that means, though? That means that Max has not
No, I know.
led a lap for, what was it, 270?
249 laps.
249
yeah,
laps.
it's like 4 or 5 or 3
So for
races,
every
4
race,
races.
he's had such a lead that he's been able to pit and come back out in first. Bonkers.
Yeah, no, he's just running away. Like, how do you get a
He's
30-second
gone.
lead?
He's run away.
It's literally insane, like how fast his car is, or if it's him drive. I really don't know. I can't.
Yeah.
But
put a
so,
finger
like,
on
yeah,
it.
all right. All congratulations to Charles Leclerc being the one to break Max's streak. But should it have been Charles or should it have been Carlos?
I mean, it could have very easily been Carlos.
I think Carlos, had they let him go by,
Carlos
would have
was
actually
trying
had
to
a
pass him.
he would have had a better chance at maybe actually taking a fight to Max than just letting Max run away with it. Because now
Potentially,
you've got Charles holding Carlos up. That's more deg on the tires, which they already struggle a little bit with. That gives Sergio Perez the opportunity, Lando Norris the opportunity, the Mercedes, the Aston Martins, everybody to close that gap on him while Max is in clean air just running away.
Should we talk about your fan favorites, Lando?
Lando, I
He
mean,
ran good today.
he did. He, you know, with the final penalties and everything, he ran
Driver of the day.
Yeah, he ran a pretty quiet race most of the day. Like just stayed up in there in the mix.
He had some nice little battles with Carlos.
Yeah, little battles with Carlos, held him off a little bit. With the post-race penalties, he ended up finishing higher than Carlos. So he started off in P4, ends the race in P4. So that's an amazing.
Suffice it to say that the McLaren upgrades are working.
I'd like to say so.
I think so. And it's pretty evident in that you can see that Lando's car got all the upgrades. Oscar's car hasn't gotten a single upgrade. Look at the comparable of the two.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with those stats.
Yeah.
So,
Do you think the McLaren is going to hold up, though?
I think it's only going to get better.
I
think
think
it's better.
It's going to be more consistent.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Mika
I think
Hakkinen
Lando
said,
has so much potential. Like, he's not my favorite driver, but he's really good.
They're strong. Yeah.
Imagine him on Red Bull in Checo's spot.
Yeah.
that's a big rumor that we've been
Dude,
talking about all
Could
season.
you imagine?
Yeah. I mean,
He
here's the
would be
thing.
winning races
With Lando,
left and right.
I think his biggest weakness is like his confidence, his mental game, and
I don't think he likes the car.
yeah. But I think now he's in a more comfortable spot, and I think after this weekend, like his confidence just took a little like jump up. So
Well,
I think
yeah, when he's finishing
going into
P4,
going into the next like few races, I think he's going to be a little bit more confident in qualifying. I think he's going
a
to
couple
probably
races ago, he was in P15 saying,
Yeah.
this is the best we can do, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Lando's also like he's an interesting guy. Like he's a really calm, cool cat. Like you won't see him get too upset. You won't see him get too happy either. You know, he's just kind of like
yeah, he's pretty good at maintaining his cool.
his riz is mid.
his mid-wit.
He has a hot ass girlfriend, I know that.
Oh, does he?
He's got a badass new goatee. I know that.
Oh,
Does he?
He's been growing it out.
He's got like 6 or 7 little pubes growing out of his chin right now.
So
Little short and curlies.
another pretty awesome battle that we saw was the Carlos and Checo battle for that final podium spot.
Battle of the year.
One of them, yeah, it was very cool to see.
I
Just
think Charles and Max battling back and forth was fucking sick.
When?
Was that race 1, I think?
No. Max was gone 30 seconds ahead of or 40 seconds ahead of everybody.
you might have been thinking last year.
You might have been thinking last year.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, when they were playing DRS.
Last year, you might have
chicken.
been thinking last year at Spa when Charles won.
Maybe.
Or not
I
Spa,
don't know.
but here at Austria. But yeah, so with like 12 laps to go, Checo and Carlos just battling, which seemed to last for what, 2 or 3 laps. Finally, Checo is able to make the pass around the outside. And then very funny, Carlos on the radio saying that Checo intimidated him.
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
What was that about, dude?
We need to talk when he's intimidating me.
I don't know. They kind of explained it. One of the guys, like Julian Palmer or somebody, was explaining what he meant by that.
Yeah.
Because obviously there might be a little bit of a language barrier.
Yeah.
And the word intimidation, but it might have been like the attempt to force him off track, or like the flinching of the car, which you can call weaving, you can call it whatever you want, but I didn't notice Checo doing anything overly aggressive trying to run Carlos out.
No,
I mean neither.
No.
I didn't see anything really that crazy. I thought it was good racing.
It was a clean fight.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was back and forth. I
thought it was funny that he said he intimidated him because, I don't know, Europeans have different choice of words when they're speaking English, and obviously Carlos is a Spaniard. They use different kinds of words. But
I would have loved to see him actually drive by and try and intimidate
when
him.
he said that.
Yeah.
See him sticking his arm out, just flexing his bicep as he goes by.
Yeah.
It's like, hey,
trying to make him flinch.
Yeah.
He waved a gun at him as he went by.
He rolls by, he drives by him smoking a cigarette, going like this.
Yeah, you're next.
But how is that intimidating driving? Like, what is he talking about?
I don't know exactly. Probably just
I'd be intimidated.
He was on his ass.
Yeah.
I'm not Carlos Sainz in a Ferrari, though.
Yeah.
He was on his fucking ass, and then he eventually passed him.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, of course you were intimidated. You were scared. You were trying to block every move that you can do, which he was. He was all over the track.
Speaking of all over the track, Lewis Hamilton just struggling the entire race. Nothing but complaints.
Yeah.
At one point, he said he wanted to quit, and
he's the biggest complainer on the fucking grid.
He was getting a lot of complaints against him about track limits, and then later on, he became the one to complain about Checo.
Dude, as soon as he got complaints on him, he started going, well, what about everybody else? What about everybody else? If they're going to be handing these out, that should get one too. But I like how they're complaining about, or his team's telling him that he needs to watch his track limits, and immediately he goes, well, I can't turn the car.
Yeah, I can't turn, mate.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, well,
that's a new issue.
No, what I tell you, when he got passed, I don't remember by who, but 5 seconds later, he's complaining on the radio.
Yeah, you're like, watch, as soon as he gets past, he's going to be complaining on the radio.
Yeah, something that wasn't his fault, but I don't know. I feel like they took 1 step forward and 2 steps backwards this weekend with their setup.
Yeah.
I think they were caught out a little bit, not having the right setup. I don't know.
They were trending upward, but I feel like they probably.
He looked good, like in the early parts of the race. He looked good.
Yeah,
they were decent throughout the weekend.
Good
George
qualifying.
Didn't.
Yeah, good.
George didn't look great.
Yeah,
his hair phenomenal. His big blue eyebrows and those chunky, beautiful lashes.
Yeah,
but he's a good lad.
Yeah. So after the race, the race,
quite
we saw
cheeky little mate.
Quite cheeky, isn't it?
So during the race, Hamilton got a 5-second penalty for track limits. After the race, he got an additional 10 seconds.
Damn.
Carlos Sainz got 10 seconds. Pierre Gasly got 10 seconds. Alex Albon got 10 seconds. Logan Sargent.
That's when you know you're going overboard with penalties, when you're giving Alex Albon a penalty.
I know.
That's crossing the line.
He doesn't deserve shit.
I don't get why you guys' obsession with Albon, but we'll save that for another day.
I mean, look at how
he's a sweet lad.
Yeah. Ocon, again, with the 30 seconds. De Vries, 15 seconds.
Mr. Penalty.
Tsunoda,
Ocon.
5 seconds. So, overall, in the end, let me see what changed. I got it right here.
That should be Ocon's new nickname, Mr. Penalty.
That's what I'm calling him.
Who was it that they used to call Mr. Monaco? I forget.
Yeah, so we saw, after penalties, we saw Norris move up into 4th, Alonso to 5th, Sainz goes back to 6th, Russell up to 7th, Hamilton all the way back to 8th, Stroll up to 9th for some double points for Aston Martin. And then Pierre Gasly rounding out, just barely holding on to
Stroll
P10.
in 9th. He made a good race.
Aston Martin's falling off a little bit.
They are. they're not doing.
Yeah, it was a rough weekend for them. And
Alonso should have done better, I think.
Like I said, it's these new upgrades. They didn't have to. They only had the one practice session for this weekend. They're struggling. So.
Bro, this track. No. Wait till we go back to a street course. These tracks like Red Bull Ring and Barcelona and all this bullshit, they're all fucking made for like practice tracks. Like
they're just traditional racetracks.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The thing is at Barcelona, they say if you're good, your car is good at Barcelona, it's good everywhere. So
we'll see. But
okay, well, should we do a little fantasy prediction recap? So let's do fantasy first, or predictions.
Let's do fantasy. I got Jonathan's fat head in the way of the screen.
Sorry, bud.
Hold on.
Hey, you're all good, bud.
Sorry, bud.
Sorry, I didn't have this queued.
Oh, come on.
What's his password?
You're not signed in?
I got it auto.
Hit that little eyeball for me real quick.
No, dog. Leagues.
All right, start out.
All right, so our league here, we got.
All right, so
for this weekend.
Me.
God damn.
I beat you by 12 points. Here's the thing. So I had made the decision. I had Nico on my team. I almost hit save, and I said, no, let me ride it out. And then
Who did you have instead?
I ended up going with Zhou Guanyu.
Okay.
Because I only had about 4.9, maybe 5.1 in the bank. And you just stepped right in front of my camera.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I only had about just over 5 million maybe in the bank to make my last pick. Could have gone with, I think, Yuki. K-Mag was out of the question. I could have gone with... I tried to get Alex. I think I could have gone with Logan Sargent, which obviously nobody
How'd you have that
do.
much money left over just from dropping Nico?
I don't know. I have Max. I had Checo. I had both Astons, and then I have Aston and Red Bull as my constructors. So anyways, long story short,
Same here, I only got like 0.9 mil.
I thought I was fucked because you got a bunch of points with Nico in the sprint and the qualies, all that shit, and I was kicking myself in the ass thinking I was going to lose the lead this race, and then the old Haas went and fucking kicked the bucket.
Yeah,
which,
the Haas race pace.
So that was nice for me. Let's go back.
It's a fantasy.
Yeah, go back to fantasy. So as it stands, we don't really have. Oh no, we do have some movement down at the bottom.
This is just from this week. So we had a 3-way tie for second.
Damn.
But yeah, 3-way tie for second between you strolling with my homies,
And
which is
Susie
Jonathan's
Wolf.
wife, Susie Wolf's stand account. Church of Checho's drops down a place.
J
J Money,
sixth.
you drop down to 6 on the week. Let's go full throttle. And
Is that just from this weekend?
yeah, and then
Yeah.
KJ obviously at the bottom. Let's go. Gotta bleep that out.
So our standings for the year. Oof,
You want to do the honors and read it out? I usually do.
27-30 for incident.
You don't have to read the points. Just read the standings.
The standings. So second place is me, Porpoise
that
Powertrains. Yeah. Third place, Susie Wolf stand account. Fourth
Who's
place,
that?
Strolling with my homies. Fifth place, J Money. Sixth place, Church of Checho's.
Let's go.
Seventh place, Let's Go Full Throttle. Eighth place, KJ. Last place.
How is Kayla beating me, man?
It's a good question.
My wife.
What is she
Kayla, Who doesn't
in fourth?
care about F1 really, but she's in fourth place.
Well, I don't know.
Who's
Guess
Susie Wolf?
No comment.
Brandon's wife.
Is that
So let's go to do this first.
baby mama?
So bold predictions.
I don't think I hit a single one.
No, so Chan, you had predicted Checo would win the sprint, did not.
He could
Charles,
have.
pole for Sunday, did not. Albon, top 7, he did not. So, unfortunately, 0. Hamilton podium, he did not. De Vries best rookie.
He was not.
Fuck no.
Yeah.
That guy sucks.
George contact in the race, unfortunately, did not. So, total
0 points doled out.
total 0 points. Still eking out with a 1-point lead.
Dude, can we talk about Nick DeVries for a quick sec?
Sure.
Do it. I got plenty of slander for him.
So on a weekend where he needed to have a good showing, I mean, he's never been under more scrutiny. We were talking about it, the whole Helmut Marko, the whole Christian Horner shit, them basically throwing him under the bus. The rumors that Liam Lawson is already queued up to take his spot mid-season, because you and I talked about it. We were like, it's going to happen. We think it's going to happen, but we don't think it's going to happen during the season. And now there's a big rumor from reliable sources that Liam Lawson is going to be ready to go by the halfway point of this season. And Nick DeVries is going to get the boot.
Yeah. This
In
added
a
pressure.
race where he needs to
Boot him
fucking be his best. He's locking up his brake. Well, first off, he qualifies, what, P20?
Yeah.
How'd he do in the sprint?
Sprint, he had a better turnout.
Nicky boy.
Dude, he
He
sucks.
qualified 14th, so he
And where did Yuki qualify?
13th. So right
Okay.
behind Yuki. He's up in there on par
Okay.
with Yuki. In the sprint, he finished right behind Yuki, 17th. For the race, let's see. Nick moved up a couple places. He finished in 17th, ahead of Yuki, who finished in 19th, last place, basically. So
Here's the big knock on him this weekend. Like, comparatively to his teammate, which is the first comparable. Your teammate went into the gravel on lap 1 and pitted right away.
yeah,
Loses 20-plus seconds to the rest of the field, ends up at the back. Where did Yuki finish the race?
19th.
Really?
At the end, yeah, he was last.
Yuki was?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought Yuki was running better than Nick. Did he?
Nick finished ahead of Yuki.
Yuki had passed him and moved back up to like 12th or 10th at one point. Maybe it was just
I mean,
a
maybe
pit
after
strategy that he
these
had-
penalties, I don't know. Because Nick got 15,
Okay, well then I
15 seconds. But,
I retract my statement. Still,
I'll tell you this right
Nick
now.
needs to be
Nick
better.
DeVries fucking... He's the reason why I'm not first on that fucking fantasy table right now.
Why?
I had him.
You've
I
had him?
had him
Nick
about
DeVries
3
is going to be the
weeks.
game changer to get you ahead of everybody.
No, I had him on my fucking team. For some odd reason, I just said, fuck it, my 5th place driver
he was
is
cheap.
gonna...
Yeah,
Yeah, he's all I could afford.
yeah.
But I didn't realize all you guys fucking went Aston Martin. And
What,
I
at the
think
beginning of the season?
Yeah, I think I picked George Russell or something.
You've got for the last 2
I
seasons,
fucked
you've
up
gone
bad.
Mercedes.
Yeah, no, I know. I've been trying to undercut.
You're wearing an
I've been
Aston
trying to
Martin
undercut you
bodysuit right now,
motherfuckers.
and you've gone all Mercedes.
Aston Martin, baby. Let's go.
You need to play your Limitless chip and remake your
I
team.
played about 4 out of my 6 chips, so
We're not
I'm gonna
even
make a
halfway
last.
there.
I'm gonna make a last move.
Hilarious.
Let me know in the comments if what chip I should use. I think I got Limitless, and I think I could swap any driver after qualifying. Or
Hey, you guys, like this post if you think Jonathan should play his Limitless chip.
Let me know if you guys want to see me back on the podcast. I'll be back.
So where do we want to rank this? Out of the 10 races so far this year, where do you think this slides in?
I could see myself going 1. If you guys want to vote it as something different, I could also do a 1A, 1B.
I would say I'd feel more comfortable just putting it in second.
Man, I really enjoyed this one.
Put it above Miami. I think.
It's definitely better than Miami.
I think.
So
This was a really solid race. Aside from all the penalty shit.
Monaco is gonna be the bottom.
We put Monaco on the bottom despite the fact that Italy didn't even happen.
it was canceled.
Yeah.
So right now
Flooded.
standings are
What
Australia.
are they gonna do with that race? Like, are they?
They're not.
They're no, it's
replacing
done.
It's done.
Done?
Yeah, next year they'll do it, whatever. But
They're not filling in anywhere.
Nope.
so Australia, the number 1 spot. Then we got this weekend Austria, then 3 Miami, 4 Jeddah, 5 Canada, Bahrain, Azerbaijan, Spain, Italy in 9th, even though it was canceled. Before number 10, Monaco. So
I think Vegas will be top of the list before the season ends.
street track, Checo will win.
That just looks insane.
It's going to be a fun weekend regardless, but I don't know if it'll be the best race.
Yeah,
It's basically an oval track. Goofy ass picture of Oscar Piastri. All right, is that it?
That's it.
Jonathan, you want to do the outro?
all right, boys.
Hold
See you later.
This is Into the Chicane Formula One podcast,
you,
the
guys.
post-Austrian Grand Prix edition. Follow us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. We'll see you guys for a pre-race. Is it next week?
Yeah, Silverstone.
That's going to be a good one.
Oh, yeah.
British Grand Prix.
Dope.
Peace.
Peace.